The following is an Auburn Network production.
Hello again, everybody. War Eagle from Jordan-Hare Stadium. Welcome to the opener of the new millennium.
For 20 years, he has been the voice.
Washington throwing to the near side. It is ball.
But more than that, Jim Fyffe has been our link to the game itself. It is through his words we see. Through his emotion, we feel we're there.
The snap, the placement, the kick. It's good! It's good! Don't echo! A 19-yarder, and Auburn leads Michigan with 23 seconds left to play. 9-7 in the 1984 Sugar Bowl game.
Over the middle, Ben Laird out of the shotgun.
Like a gifted artist, his words have painted rich, emotional image of Auburn athletics.
Play. Black's gonna throw in the end zone. Got a man wide open. Wilson, he got it. Touchdown Auburn! Touchdown Auburn! Touchdown Auburn! Unbelievable! I've seen the impossible happen. I have seen a miracle. Outlet pass to Robinson. Auburn threatening to break it open. Lead pass behind the back dump. Over the shoulder by Brian Smith. Ole Miss wants a timeout. Hello, Huntsville, Alabama. It's 20-4 Auburn, and this place is going wacko.
For 20 years, he has led us safely through valleys as dark as night and taken us to the highest mountaintops.
Berger out of the eye. Going to pitch to Jesse, and he's going to give it to Tillman on the end around. The 10, the 5, Tillman. He's in! Touchdown, Auburn! Touchdown, Auburn! Mario Tillman on the end around reverse. 32 seconds left. Auburn has gone ahead 20-17. Florida's got the big rush on Nix. He floats one in the end zone. It is caught! Touchdown, Auburn! Sanders caught it! Touchdown, Auburn! Touchdown, Auburn!
His voice will forever be linked to the greatest moments in Auburn athletic history.
As a sea of orange and blue celebrants are tearing down the goalpost in this monumental victory, ladies and gentlemen. And the Auburn Tigers have put away the Crimson Tide by the score of 22-14. 11-0! 11-0! 11-0!
This is 20 years of great calls. The story of Jim Fyffe and the Auburn Tigers.
Stuff in here left over from last year.
On August 31st, 2000, Jim Fyffe began his 20th season as the play-by-play announcer for Auburn athletics.
Jimbo!
Charles!
How are you?
How's it going, man?
20th year, baby.
20th
year.
Rock and roll.
Wait a minute.
I'm ready.
Where's the arthritis medicine?
All right, Joggity, let's go.
Although much has changed over the years, coaches, players, and the broadcast technology, Jim Fyffe is the constant. The anchor for Auburn fans across the state and now across the world listening on the internet.
There's the snap, the spot, pitches away, long enough, high enough, kick, good! It's good! It's good! It's good! It's good! It's good! Holmes from 39 yards! It's good! It's good! A mob scene!
Here at the Auburn Network, we're very fortunate to have someone like Jim Fyffe. Jim is a professional. He is superb at play-by-play. He really does paint a picture, and he tells the story of what's going on the field or on the basketball court. He does it from an Auburn perspective, and so that's what we're trying to accomplish here with our network broadcast.
He rolls out. He throws a pass upfield, caught by Johnson at the 5. He's gone. Robert Johnson, the freshman out of Montgomery, Alabama, takes it in. Touchdown, Auburn!
I think communication is the biggest key to any program, being able to get your word out in a traditional way, and I think Jim's done a great job over the years of being Mr. Auburn.
Welcome back to the Morning Line. Jim and Doug on the radio. It's 8:25.
Today, Jim Fyffe is sports director at WHCV Radio in Montgomery, Alabama, as well as the play-by-play voice of the Auburn Tigers.
Well, see, I bought this book, columns that Red Smith had written, the Immortal.
He's certainly an icon, recognizable on any street corner around the state of Alabama. But things were quite different in the summer of 1981, some 20 seasons ago. A young coach by the name of Pat Dye had been hired to rebuild the Auburn program, and a new radio station was selected to air the football games. But it was no coincidence that Jim Fyffe was already working for that station.
2 years prior to that, I changed my regular day-to-day job in hopes that that radio station would take over the broadcast rights for Auburn. And that didn't happen, so it was a major disappointment. And then when it did happen, two and a half years later, it was even more fulfilling, more rewarding for me, because I'd been so dejected and so depressed and so hurt that I didn't get the opportunity prior to that. As long as I can remember, literally, I wanted to do what I now do for a living. And when it was obvious, when they told me that they'd given me the job, I didn't know whether to turn backflips or celebrate or what to do, because it was such a realization of a dream.
When it came to working his first game, Jim was as excited as the young men who suited up that day for the Tigers.
I was not nervous from the point of broadcasting, but I was nervous from the standpoint of, is everything going to fall into place? Is everything going to work out? And you know, it was a big opportunity, a big moment, and I didn't want to blow it.
Joining Jim was Auburn's Heisman-winning quarterback, Pat Sullivan. It was his first ever experience in broadcasting.
It was exciting. It was something that personally, you know, I had never done, but it was something that I was enthused about. Coach Dye was coming in. It was you know, a new excitement around campus, and you know, being with Jim, he was made it so easy for me. You know, I think we just kind of fit together. He made it comfortable for me, and I think when you're trying to talk and describe something, it's if you're comfortable with that person, then it makes it easy.
Jim did make it look easy, but back in those days, the play-by-play announcer was responsible for pre-game interviews, out-of-town score updates, and basically keeping the broadcast on the air. That, coupled with a new coach and a young team, made the 1981 season a challenge, to say the least. Perhaps the most difficult game of that season to broadcast was the Tennessee game in Knoxville. This was a 60-minute war. When the Tigers' attempt to score the winning touchdown with seconds remaining failed, it left everyone drained, and novice broadcaster Pat Sullivan wondering how he would interview Coach Dye in the locker room.
There was just no life left in that locker room. Coach Dye was white as a sheet. You know, they had played so hard and came so close, and you know, using the old ABC axiom, you know, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, there was certainly a lot of agony and defeat that day.
There's going to be a lot of days when you lay your guts on the line and you come away empty-handed. Ain't a damn thing you can do about it but go back and lay them on the line again, and again, and again. You'll keep fighting like you did today. You'll keep playing like that. You can build a foundation that we can live a long, long time on it all.
Better days were ahead for the broadcast team and the Auburn Tigers. Coach Pat Dye quickly showed he was a winner and would settle for nothing less. He and Jim developed a sense of trust and respect for each other. The strength of their relationship would carry both through good times and bad.
Over the years, because we went on and had some great years and had some difficult times, and because you know, the greatest test for a man is the test of time, and Jim has stood the test of time through all of the coaching changes and all of the controversy. He's remained, he's been able to, by whatever means, to stay the one Auburn guy that the Auburn people identify with.
Coach Dye's trust in Jim was evident from the start when he agreed to wear a microphone while observing the 1981 A-Day game from the broadcast booth. Needless to say, it was the last time Coach Dye ever wore a microphone.
I put a headset on him, and he lost sight of the fact that we were on the air. he started coaching up in the booth. And something would happen that he didn't like, and he would give whoever the player was a tongue lashing, not realizing that he had the microphone on. And he'd say, "Oh, that's the sorriest blankety blank thing I ever saw in my life. I told those kids a dozen times to do it a different way." And he just really lost it on the air. And every once in a while I'd have to reach over and nudge him in the ribs and say, "Well, Coach, what'd you think of that that particular play, or how's that young man doing? Did he have a good spring?"
In 1982, one young man who had a good preseason was a freshman recruited from Bessemer, Alabama, named Vincent Bo Jackson. His addition, along with the progress made the previous year, had Auburn fans feeling cautiously optimistic. In fact, 1982 would be a monumental season for Auburn and a defining one for a young Jim Fyffe. Going into the Alabama game, the Tigers were 7-3, with hopes of getting their first bowl bid in 8 years. Little did anyone outside of the football staff know how confident Coach Dye was about his team's chances at Legion Field. But Jim Fyffe did.
You know, Jim and I did our talk show on Thursday night. And, you know, before and during the breaks and all, we got a chance to spend some time together. And we talked about the significance and the importance of that football game. And you know, it was one of those things going in, you know, I had a good feeling and a gut feeling about the game because I knew that we were probably a little better than people expected us to be. And we had continued to get better as the season went on, and I thought we were going to win the football game, and you know, and talked about it privately, you know, among my close, and Jim was one of them.
Coach Dye can look at you in such a way that you know he means business. He means what he's saying. And there is no question. I mean, sometimes he can be jovial, he can be jocular, but then he can be absolutely serious. And he looked at me across the desk and he said, quote, "You're going to see a bloodletting in Birmingham, Alabama." And I knew exactly what he meant. I knew that Auburn was going up there to win. They weren't going up there to be a victim again. This was serious stuff, and he said, "And we're going to come back a winner, and you can take that to the bank." And I had never seen him quite like that, in such a mood. And I said, "Yes, sir." I wasn't about to argue with it.
Sure enough, the Tigers stood up to the Crimson Tide, answering Alabama's opening salvo with one of their own.
Bruce Campbell on the draw, gives to James, right side, James up through at the 5. He is in for the score. Touchdown, Auburn.
Up in the broadcast booth, Pat Sullivan, player-turned-analyst, was feeling the emotions of this pressure-packed day.
The anxiety, you know, from playing, you know what it's like to be on the sideline and, you know, to do something that hadn't been done in a while. The emotion, the adrenaline that you had, you just, you know, kept trying to play one play at a time as they were doing.
As each second passed, it became more and more apparent that this showdown would be a defining moment for college football in the South. Both teams were at the top of their game, but as he would so many times in his career, Bo Jackson would be the difference.
Nobody split. Give to Bo. Up and over and in, I believe. Touchdown. Touchdown, Auburn. Well, that was sure second effort by Bo Jackson. He just got hit behind the line of scrimmage. Everybody knew what was coming.
In the heat of the battle, while feeling so much emotion, so much excitement, the skill and professionalism of Jim Fyffe came through in capturing the essence of this defining moment in Auburn football history. He put a stamp on this game that will live forever.
As a sea of orange and blue celebrants are tearing down the goalposts in this monumental victory, ladies and gentlemen, as the Auburn Tigers have defeated the Alabama Crimson Tide by the score of 23-22. Sullivan, you didn't think we could do it. I didn't think we could do it. We have done it.
And it had been so long since Auburn had gone up there and tasted victory that was about as big a thing as I'd ever been around. And to see all those Auburn people after all those years and so many disappointments, close and some, and blowouts and some, and Auburn just wasn't used to going up there and winning. And I was thrilled, and I was lost in the moment, in the jubilation of it, and I just looked down there at all those people celebrating, and all those kids so happy that finally, at long last, we had beaten Alabama. And to me, that was about as monumental as it gets.
The success at Birmingham in 1982 had a tremendous impact on the careers of both Pat Dye and Jim Fyffe. In 1983, the Tigers defeated Alabama for the second year in a row and won their first SEC championship under Coach Dye. That accomplishment earned them a Sugar Bowl bid against Michigan. Again, the Tigers would leave their fans breathless as they pulled off a dramatic last-second victory. It was a Fyffe call that captured the moment.
Say a silent prayer for Al Del Greco. Angle to the right, the snap, the placement, the kick. It's good! It's good! Del Greco! A 19-yarder! And Auburn leads Michigan with 23 seconds left to play. 9-7 in the 1984 Sugar Bowl game.
By 1984, Jim Fyffe was becoming a fixture at Auburn, and people began taking notice when Jim would say, "Touchdown Auburn," but very little was made of it. There was no emphasis or raised voice at all, but that would change, and quite by accident.
There was one defining moment. I was playing in a scramble golf tournament at Maxwell Air Force Base for some charity. I can't remember what the occasion was. But I ran in a long putt, and you know how I play golf, so it's very rare when I run in even a short putt. But I made a long putt, one of these winding type things, and broke 2 or 3 times and dropped in the cup. And I said, well, that's worth what I say. And the phrase, and I said it a couple of times real loud because we were having fun. It was a festive atmosphere. Well, the tee box for the next hole was close to the green where we were putting. And there was a guy who was about to tee off, and he had on red from head to toe, and Alabama everything, and Roll Tide here and Roll Tide there. And he heard me yell that a couple of times, and it was obvious that it was like rubbing your nails on a blackboard. He did not like it. And he came running over from where he'd hit the golf ball on his tee shot to where I was, and he let me know in no uncertain terms that he didn't like it one little bit. And he said, no Alabama fan likes what you say. So that was a tip-off right there. That was a defining moment. I realized at that time that this is a good thing, and I'm going to go with it.
3rd down 6 at the Auburn 24. Pat's going to leave it with ball, and he's going to break a tackle. He's going to break another tackle, 35-40. Down the sidelines, we got a foot race at the 40, the 30, the 20. Bye-bye, Bo! Touchdown, Auburn!
While the bye-bye Bo call became an instant classic among Auburn fans, it was just the first of many calls that captured the excitement of the 1980s under Coach Pat Dye.
Pitch to his tailback, sweeping to the short side, trying to get outside, broken tackle, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, down the sideline, 45, the 40. They're not going to get him. He's going all the way. Touchdown, Auburn! 88 yards for Brent Fullwood. Here is motion by Donaldson, back to the near side, and now reverses his field, goes to the wide side of the field. Berger sets up to throw. Oh my! Touchdown Auburn! Touchdown Auburn! Touchdown Auburn! Tillman, Tillman, Tillman! At the baseline of the end zone. A bullet by Berger. Auburn goes ahead. Unbelievable! Unbelievable!
Perhaps the wildest game Jim Fyffe and Pat Sullivan ever worked was in 1984 at Florida State. This game had everything. Wall-to-wall action, countless lead changes, and some of the strangest plays you'll ever see.
Left, and Thomas is going to pitch to Allen. He's hit, he pops up the ball. It is loose, they're fighting for it. And Auburn's got it back at the Florida State 40-yard line. Jimmy Bone fell on the ball, and Greg Allen was really wrecked and caught at about midfield, and the ball popped loose and rolled all the way back inside Florida State 40.
We got a lot of attention from that broadcast because that game, for whatever reason, Auburn and Florida State was not on TV. And we broadcast from Tallahassee, and in order to keep up with the game, you had to listen to it, listen to our version of it. And a lot of people obviously did, and it was such a crazy, wacky, bizarre game, 42-41. Neither team could stop the other.
There's the kick by Barco. 2 yards into the end zone is Fullwood. He'll bring it out to the 5 to the 10, straight up the middle of the field to the 20. Fumble the football. Florida State's going to get it, I believe. Auburn picked it up. They're going to try to run with it. Can he go? Can he go with it? It's Eddie Graham who has the football, and he's going to go the distance for a touchdown. Touchdown, Auburn!
After back-and-forth lead changes, the Tigers prevailed 42-41. Although it didn't figure into the SEC standings, this game might have been one of the most important games in Jim Fyffe's career.
A lot of people listened to that game, and I think that had something to do with my officially becoming accepted in the eyes and the hearts of the Auburn people.
For several years, the broadcast team had remained intact, with Jim Fyffe, Pat Sullivan, along with spotters Bill Wingard and Kes Fabian.
You know, Bill Wingard, it was his life. You know, he was there. He was probably more nervous than the coaches and players, Kes Fabian, Spotting, who had done it for years and years and years. And, you know, the job that those guys did for us, you know, certainly made our job easier.
But in 1986, Coach Dye plucked Pat Sullivan from the booth to become an assistant coach, working with the quarterbacks. So the Auburn Network chose another former Tiger signal caller to join the crew. He was the 1980 Cliff Hare Award winner, Montgomery's own Charlie Trotman, quarterback at Auburn from 1977 to 1979.
I had known Jim a long time. I mean, back from the early 70s in high school. Jim used to be an anchor in Montgomery at one of the local sports channels, actually old Channel 20, WCOV. And he also did the Volunteer Review. That was our high school football program.
When Charlie was hired, he readily admitted that his knowledge of the radio business was lacking, to say the least.
I just remember the first time I put on the headset, I didn't realize that there was an engineer who would talk to you. And so I remember Jim asked me a question on the air, and I was in the middle of my response, and the engineer said something to Jim, but I heard it, and so I stopped, and I looked back at the engineer, and so I obviously was a novice.
For A-Day that year, we brought in, I guess, 5 candidates, and Charlie was clear-cut the #1 choice. And I ran this up the flagpole. I let several people listen to the tapes, and it was unanimous.
Obviously, the decision was a good one, as Charlie and Jim have worked side by side ever since. Charlie got a proper baptism in 1986 as the Tigers won their second SEC title under Coach Pat Dye. Still, there was some nail-biting in Birmingham that year, as the Tigers trailed Alabama by 17-14 late in the fourth quarter.
Here's 4th down and 3, and motion is Gaines back toward the line of scrimmage. Berger is under a big rush. He's going to shoot a pass that is caught. Great catch down at the Alabama 40, first down Auburn. Brilliant catch along the near side boundary.
Fans listening on the radio were treated to classic commentary as Jim and Charlie captured the drama of those precious final seconds.
Berger out of the eye. He's going to pitch to Jesse, and he's going to give it to Tillman on the end around. The 10, the 5, Tillman. He's in! Touchdown, Auburn! Touchdown, Auburn! Tillman on the end around reverse. 2 seconds left. Auburn has gone ahead 20-17.
The play-by-play call was pure Fyffe. Exciting, factual, and to the point. It looked like the pairing of Jim and Charlie was a winner as well.
As a color commentator, your job is made really by the play-by-play announcer, because he leads you into questions. It's easy for him to decide when you talk or when not to let you talk, and so Jim is very good at that.
Charlie knows the nuts and bolts of the game, the mechanics of the game, how to play the game, how the strategy of the game. I don't understand that. The technical aspects of football, I'm lost. So that's where he comes into play. And without him, I'd be doing it on one leg.
The Tigers were on a roll in the late 80s, creating plenty of big play excitement for Fyffe and Trotman. In 1987, they put their mark on Auburn history in calling the game that marked the first of 3 straight SEC championships for the Auburn Tigers.
Unbalanced line left, pitch to Harry Mose, tries to get outside, looks for room, he's got room, he's in, touchdown Auburn!
This was one of those classic grinded-out battles against the Crimson Tide. And the broadcast team brought their A-game to this one.
Schulman puts the ball on the tee, kicked away. Kick is good. Win Lyle from 23 yards away gives Auburn a 10-0 lead with 1:19 left in the ball game.
You could feel the emotion through the radio as the Tigers savored the victory and their SEC title.
The Auburn Tigers have shut out the Alabama Crimson Tide by the score of 10-0 here at Legion Field in Birmingham. The clock running down. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is over, ladies and gentlemen. Hail to the champions of the Southeastern Conference. The Auburn Tigers have defeated the Alabama Crimson Tide 10-0 here at Legion Field. War Eagle!
Following their 3rd straight SEC title in 1988, the Tigers' success in the late 80s built to a crescendo in 1989. On a day that has been called the first time ever, Auburn fans witnessed something many thought would never happen. Alabama finally came to Auburn.
Some said it would never happen. There have been lawsuits, arguments, discussions, and fights over moving this game out of Birmingham, where it's been played every year since 1948, and where some said it would always be played. How wrong they were, because today history is being made, and the biggest crowd this school has ever hosted is on hand to watch the 54th edition of football's hottest rivalry. Hello again, everybody, in War Eagle. This is Jim Fyffe with Charlie Trotman, Larry Wilkins, our engineer.
The game in Auburn, the first time ever in '89, still stands out as the most significant football game probably in Auburn history. Playing that game at Auburn put Auburn on a level field forever. And that's the first time they'd ever been there.
Reggie Slack needing 5 yards on 3rd down. Is going to throw long to Alexander Wright. Oh, a great catch over the shoulder inside the 10, down to the 7-yard line.
I've never been associated with anything that had that much drama, that much emotion, and certainly that much electricity.
All right, here's Auburn 3rd down and goal just inside. It's 1 full house backfield, 2 tight ends. Give up the middle, over and in is Joseph as he dives in. Touchdown, Auburn!
In a game like this, the broadcast team wants to bring as much focus to the game as the players do. With the Tigers trailing 10-7 in the 3rd quarter, Jim Fyffe made the big call.
Auburn's inside the Bama 2 for a 2nd down play. Joseph goes up and over. Joseph is in. Touchdown, Auburn!
When late in the 4th quarter it became apparent that this dream was coming true, Jim Fyffe put the finishing touches on one of the greatest days in Auburn football history.
Angle to the left. The ball will be placed down on the near side hash mark by Dickinson. There's the kick. Kick is away. Kick is good! Auburn 30, Alabama 20. 33 seconds to go. Let the celebrating begin.
Tonight's what our program's all about. I want you to think about it and let it sink in deep. This is the reason we work in the summertime, in January and February, in the spring. This is the reason we push you beyond what you think you can do to experience moments like this. Ain't no easy way in life, and it wasn't easy out there tonight, but you were prepared for the task. It don't make any difference who's carrying the ball. It don't make any difference who's catching it, who's rushing the pass, or who's making the tackles, as long as you got a blue jersey on.
If Jim Fyffe had never broadcast another game after 1989, he would have had a full career at Auburn, arriving when the program was starting over, then riding a wave of success that culminated with 3 SEC championships and 5 bowl game victories. Since the early 90s, the Auburn Network has been transformed into a state-of-the-art broadcast facility. The broadcasts feature a fully staffed studio operation, anchored by Auburn veteran Paul Ellen.
In the wake of Auburn's 35-21 victory over Wyoming,
along with the addition of Auburn All-America linebacker Quentin Riggins as a sideline analyst.
What is Joe Frazier doing now?
And the creation of the Tiger Tailgate pregame show.
It's phenomenal to think about how much it's grown. When we first started, we were in a real small office space in downtown Auburn with 3 employees. Now we have about 11 employees, and we have a state-of-the-art digital facility.
While all these innovations enhance the broadcast, the on-air presence of Jim Fyffe and Charlie Trotman is still the cornerstone.
He's going to make it into the end zone. Touchdown, Auburn!
The fact that we have had pretty much the same broadcast team, and in particular our play-by-play announcer, the premier voice, has been in place for the last decade, I really believe is part of our success and the reason we have what I believe is such a first-class broadcast.
Takes it at the 30, heads it back downfield.
Behind the voice you hear on the radio, there's a lot going on to ensure the broadcast appears effortless.
Mr. Ellen points out that Wyoming's only first down in that quarter was a pass interference.
Yeah, that's right.
Good stat. There's a lot going on when, during the course of a broadcast, especially a football broadcast. I mean, he's getting information from Bo Benton, the spotter. He's getting information from Rod doing stats. He's getting stuff from me, whether we're going to commercial, whether we're going to the studio, whether we're going to Quentin, whether I've seen something on the field that he and Charlie didn't. It's really kind of my job to keep us on track and even really ahead of the game.
No gain on the play, Don.
Staying ahead is a big job, which actually involves the input of 7 different people. To illustrate, let's take a look at what happens during the course of one football play. First, engineer Patrick Tisdale makes sure the audio levels on the announcers and the crowd are correct, so their voices are not too soft and the crowd is not too loud.
Sets up, throws long downfield for Tim Carter. Over the shoulder, he caught it. Great catch at the 30, and he fights into the 25-yard line.
That isn't an easy task. As you know, Jim can get a little excited at times.
Touchdown, Auburn!
Between plays, stats man Rod Bramblett updates Jim on the team rushing totals. And spotter Bo Benton alerts Jim that a new player has just checked into the game.
Down at the 45-yard line, that's a first down for Auburn.
As the play unfolds, Jim describes the action, and Charlie studies the field as well as a TV monitor as he prepares to give his insight on why the play worked or didn't work.
Willis could get it, throws it right on the hash mark.
Jim is cued to throw to Quentin Riggins on the field for an update.
Well, Jim, already Auburn is starting to rotate a lot of players on that particular series, well, the last 2.
As Quentin is talking, producer John Cole alerts Jim that it's time to throw to a commercial break.
That's the end of the third quarter. Auburn leads it 28-7. Auburn football continues in a moment.
That's what happens on every play, except in real time, it goes much quicker.
The quarterback puts things in motion, and that's how I look at Jim as the play-by-play guy. He's the best in the business, and I don't know of any other announcer that I would rather listen to. Of course, I'm biased, but I know I try, when I prepare for the game, to try to meet that level and try to try to complement that team because it's an A team.
Charlie, I haven't seen anything like that since Terry Beasley from Pat Sullivan in the old days.
Looking right over the back.
Team is a good word to use to describe how Jim and Charlie work together to describe the action. They have a certain chemistry between them that simply works.
It's easy to interact with Jim now because we know each other so well, and it's sort of like a marriage. You know, you've been married for a certain amount of time, and you start to know your spouse, and it's kind of that way in the broadcast booth. You know, I probably with John Madden and Pat Summerall, they probably know each other so well now that they just know what the other expects, and that's the way it is with Jim and myself.
Somebody once said that if Auburn and Alabama were playing tiddlywinks, it would be a war. Well, we're not playing tiddlywinks tonight. It's basketball that is the subject at hand.
Although Jim Fyffe is so closely associated with football, he also has a deep love for basketball and has been the play-by-play voice of Tiger basketball the last 20 years.
Stripped away by Brian Smith. He's in the open floor. Takes the lead pass. Two-handed jam. Hello, Huntsville, Alabama.
Having grown up in Kentucky, Jim's affinity for the game is deep-rooted.
Basketball is a quick game, and it takes someone that knows the game to call it. You've got time in other sports. If you're at a baseball game, you've got pitches in between. In football, you've got plays where you've got 30 seconds or so to make a call. Basketball happens so quick. You better know the game. Jim Fyffe knows the game. He knows the ins and outs of it. He communicates it, and he does it in an entertainment fashion, and it comes natural.
Baseball pass, front court, Brian Smith, baseline 8-footer, in and out, no good. Oh my goodness sakes, what a jam by Porter. Oh my goodness. Hello, Abbeville, Alabama, a one-handed slam. Get ready, ESPN, that's a highlight there.
Jim's highlights are not limited to the high-flying Tigers of the Cliff Ellis era, but go all the way back to the days when a young man named Charles Barkley played under Coach Sonny Smith.
He was so good. We communicated really well on the air, on the post-game shows and the pre-game shows. He was very, very good at that, which they were not as meaningful because when a guy interviews you after a game, you're either upset or you're high as a Georgia pine tree. You know, you're way up there, and he had the ability to lead you in the direction that you wanted to go and ask the things, and that was one of his best qualities, I thought.
Coach Smith trusted Jim and gave him unprecedented access to team functions.
We would always have our pregame meeting at the pregame meal. They'd eat and then we'd go over. So I let him stay in there. And back in those, my coaching personality was totally different than the way I appear. I was really tough on kids, tougher than I should have been, really. So I get through the thing. I get all over these guys. I mean, all over them. I'm running around, spitting on them and everything, you know, really getting after them. So he comes up to me, and we had this type of relationship. He comes up to me after the talk is over, and he says, "Son, do you ever think these guys probably win in spite of you?" You know how he can be so caustic, or he can sarcastic humor. That's it. That's Fyffe invented sarcastic humor.
Jim traveled with the team on away trips, and it was at that time he got to know Charles Barkley in a unique way.
Charles loved the young and the restless. I think this was his freshman season. Loved to watch the soap operas, but in particular the young and the restless. And they put Charles on the road with Darryl Lockhart, who was a senior and a very serious-minded young man, and a kind of guy that he wanted to study in the room, and he wanted it quiet, peaceful in there. And he was not much of a party guy, but Charles was again a free spirit, and we were in Knoxville, and I heard a knock on my door. It was about 11 o'clock, game morning. So I go to the door, and there's Charles standing there in his bare feet, and he had this little boy disappointed look on his face, and he looked at me and he said, "Mr. Fyffe, "Can I come in your room? Darryl won't let me watch The Young and the Restless." And he was about to cry. I'll never forget that. The look on Charles's face, and it was almost to the point of tears welling up in his eyes.
Auburn breaking the Arkansas press. Sharp racing into front court, shooting no. Great! Followed by Porter in the jam. Hello, Abbeville, Alabama. My goodness sakes.
When Auburn dunks the ball in a basketball game, when we get a dunk, I always say hello to wherever the guy is from who's dunking the ball. And that's a Barkley thing, because he used to come to me and he'd say, "Mr. Fyffe, make sure you say hello to everybody in Leeds tonight." And I would always say, "Well, I will, Charles, but you're going to have to dunk the ball before I'll do it." So that just happened.
Although there was no voting on which basketball call was Jim's best ever, you might consider one from the Auburn-Ole Miss game in 1999.
Outlet pass to Robinson. Auburn threatening to break it open. Lead pass. Behind the back dunk. Over the shoulder by Brian Smith. Ole Miss wants a timeout. Hello, Huntsville, Alabama. It's 20-4 Auburn, and this place is going wacko.
That was absolutely unbelievable.
All you folks on ESPN, I bet you got an eyeful there.
It's fitting that during that same season, the Tigers won their first SEC basketball championship in many years. Jim once again captured the emotions of the moment for all Auburn people.
Here is Ford, a runner in front court, no good. And here comes the celebration. Auburn sharing the SEC championship after an 81-63 victory over Vanderbilt here at Beard Eves Memorial Coliseum, and they're going crazy. The Cliff Dwellers, the team, the fans, everybody taking a share of this victory celebration.
In all of Jim Fyffe's 20 years at Auburn, the biggest surprise came in 1993.
Here's White, the toss sweep to the tailback. Bostic shakes off the tackle. Bostic crosses the goal line. He's in. Touchdown, Auburn!
In a year the Tigers were expected to do nothing, they defied the experts and recorded their first undefeated, untied season since the 1957 National Championship.
Wideouts all over the place, and he's going to fire downfield. Sanders has it on the dead run. 35 to 30 to 25 to 20, 15, 10, 5.
The quality of Jim Fyffe's radio calls matched the excellence displayed on the field and captured the raw excitement this young team created.
Six-man rush. Werfel's going to throw in the end zone. Pass is intercepted. Wide open at the 10, to the 15, to the 20. He's at the 30. He's at the 40. Giving chases. Werfel won't catch him. To the 30, to the 20, to the 10. He is gone. 95 yards. Touchdown, Auburn!
The Florida game was certainly one that proved to us that we could pretty much beat anybody, and did beat everybody. That whole season, though, was just absolutely magic.
Still, how could anyone expect this team to go 11-0? Remembering that Alabama came to Auburn in Week 11, still hurting from the 30-20 loss at Jordan-Hare in 1989. Midway in the third quarter, with the Crimson Tide holding to a 14-5 lead, an injury to quarterback Stan White would set in motion a sequence of events that still seems hard to imagine.
I don't think anything describes or gives you a feel for the improbability and amazement of the '93 season more than the Pat Nix pass to Frank Sanders. I mean, Pat Nix just came in for Stan White, who had been hurt, didn't even have time to warm up. And I can remember taking Frank Sanders, who always played to the wide side of the field, and putting the formation to the boundary, because I knew Pat Nix had not warmed up and there was no way he was going to throw the ball into the end zone to the wide side of the field. It was fourth down. I figured, well, if he doesn't catch it, it's better than a punch, you know. It's probably too wide for a field goal, so let's just throw it in the end zone and hope they intercept it and take it on the one, or we make something happen.
Out of shotgun, Patrick Nix. Alabama bringing everybody. Nix is going to float one for Sanders. Sanders, oh, he caught it at the 2, and he dived in. Touchdown, Auburn! Touchdown, Auburn! Oh, my goodness! Yes! Sanders went up over Tommy Johnson or Antonio Langham. He caught the ball at the 2. How he held it, I don't know, but he dived into the end zone, and Auburn's right back in the thick of it.
Again, Jim Fyffe had captured the essence of the moment. His call was an instant classic.
I didn't think that Auburn was going to win. I didn't think Auburn had a chance to win until the time that Pat Nix threw it to Frank Sanders. After that, it was a whole different situation.
First down play. Here up the middle, Bostic, 5 yards, 10 yards, 45 Bostic, 50 Bostic, racing to the 45 to the 40, breaking a tackle to the 30, to the 20, to the 10. He's gone! Touchdown, Auburn!
Boy, did James Bostic ever break that one. He had 3 touchdowns against Georgia. Coming in this week as the SEC Player of the Week offensively, 183 yards in that game, and that big man just broke it over the right side and outran everybody and broke another tackle around the 25-yard line. Great speed, great power. What blocking by the Auburn offensive line.
70 yards.
Now the only question was, what would Fyffe say to characterize this improbable, unforgettable year?
And the Auburn Tigers have put away the Crimson Tide by the score of 22-14. 11-0, 11-0, 11-0.
The Tiger magic continued in 1994, and again, Jim Fyffe captured their remarkable moments in his own unforgettable style.
Howard, one setback, that's Sharp looking to get outside, lost the football, it's loose in the end zone, Auburn falls on it, Auburn's got it for a touchdown, Auburn!
The LSU game became an instant classic. The Auburn defense would return 3 fourth-quarter interceptions for touchdowns to single-handedly keep the Tigers' record-winning streak alive.
Howard wants to throw. Howard fires. Passes tipped around. It's intercepted at the 40, the 45, the 30, the 20, the 10. He's gone. Robinson. Touchdown, Auburn!
Can you believe it? Can you believe it? 3 interception returns for a touchdown bring Auburn back in this ball game, and it's the defense. Can you say defense, Auburn? Unreal.
Then on October 15th, 1994, the Tigers met Florida in the Swamp for a game that ranks as one of the best in Auburn history.
Steve Spurrier had said going into the game that our schedule didn't compare with theirs. This was the night before on the news. He had said that. And Coach Bowden made sure that all our players were aware that he had said that our schedule couldn't compare with theirs. And we were, as I remember, Auburn was 17, 18-point underdog. Nobody gave Auburn any chance to win that game.
High set. They're going to run the end around reverse to Sanders. Sanders with blockers ahead of him. Turns it upfield at the 25 to the 20 to the 15 to the 10. He's going to score. Touchdown, Auburn!
There were countless lead changes, and no lead seemed big enough to ensure victory. In the end, the game would be decided on one play.
Florida's got the big rush on Nix. He floats one in the end zone. It is caught! Touchdown, Auburn! Sanders caught it! Touchdown, Auburn! Touchdown, Auburn! Frank Sanders from Nix. Auburn's ahead. Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Again, Jim Fyffe had taken a moment in time and transformed it into part of the legend and lore of Auburn football.
I do get a mulligan, right?
If Jim Fyffe has a weakness, it's golf. When we say weak, we mean weak.
Still playable. He's swinging a Volkswagen on a stick for a driver.
Skillet. It's a skillet. I can fry my eggs in the morning.
And he's hitting from the wrong side. And he wants me to give him strokes.
Other than that, everything's fine. Ah! Keep hitting it left. That's your fault.
Fortunately, he's found an understanding golf partner in Coach Tommy Tuberville.
Oh, that's just not fair.
It might be a little long. Well, it's hard to identify the balls, being that I gave you one of mine.
After I lost all of mine.
After you lost yours.
But seriously, Coach Tuberville knows how important Jim is to the football program and to Auburn University.
How about that, huh? Probably the second toughest job other than coaching a college football team is being the radio announcer, being the guy that has to describe every position, everything that happens on the spur of the second. I don't know how you missed that.
I don't either. But that's the name of my game, 3-putt. Or lining up that 3rd putt. I'm good at that, too. There's the snap. Pressure, and he throws to Daniels. Down this near side, catches it, breaks the tackle at the 50, 40. He's at the 30, the 20. He's gone. Touchdown, Auburn! 78 yards. Leard to Daniels. Ben Leard having an unbelievable day.
So it's been 20 years that Jim Fyffe has informed and entertained Auburn fans. And he means so much to Auburn.
We're going to have a good broadcast.
Such as it is, my game face.
Well,
You know, there are a lot of figures in the Auburn family that mean so much. You know, you talk about Coach Suge Jordan, you talk about Coach Beard and, you know, Coach Pat Dye, and the people that have had tremendous impacts. A lot of that is staying power. Jim has been here 20 years. He's been doing this for 20 years. He's an icon.
Jim's a legend at Auburn. I mean, he is. I mean, he already is. That's one area that Auburn has not had to take a back seat to anybody. As long as I've been at Auburn, our announcer has been as good as anybody's in the country.
A lot of people tell me that, well, when the games are on TV, we turn down the audio and listen to your broadcast, and invariably they say, we love to hear you say what I say when Auburn scores. And if that is my legacy, well, so be it. You know, I guess you could have a worse legacy, because I love the fact that they seem to love what I say and what I do.
Going to hand it off to Johnson, running left, slips through a tackle, 30, 25, open field, 20, 15, 10, 5, gone! Touchdown, Auburn!
Jim Fyffe, until next time, we thank you for your time. As through your words and your love of Auburn, we've all felt the pain of tough defeats and the pure joy of victory. But more than that, you've made all of us who listen feel like we're a part of the Auburn family. Thank you, Jim Fyffe. Thank you for 20 years of great calls.